Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to talk about different levels of reading comprehension and how this can affect you as a teacher at whatever level you are teaching at. So, let's begin. So, in reading comprehension, there are three levels at which the typical student goes through as they achieve mastery in reading and understanding what they read, obviously. And those stages are decoding, critical literacy, and dynamic literacy. These are the three levels that a student goes through as they comprehend text. And of course, I'm assuming you know reading comprehension means the ability to understand what you read. So let's start with decoding. Decoding typically takes place with early grades. Normally kindergarten till about fourth grade is when students are learning to read. And after that, from fourth grade on up or fifth grade on, students are reading to learn. That's how it works for a native speaker. For the ESL, decoding normally takes place at the beginner to maybe high intermediate level. Those are the two streams that we're looking at there. Now, with decoding, for those of you who have always taught higher grades, decoding is typically where you are learning to sound out the words, with the phonics. So, for example, right here, we have the cat is fat. So, obviously, a child who's in first or second grade might say the cat is fat. That is decoding. And so students practice this and practice this and practice this and practice this. The goal right now is not so much to understand as just to be able to read it. That is the primary focus when you are doing decoding. Now, as a child matures and becomes older and moves into the higher grades, fifth grade and beyond, you start to get into what we call critical literacy. This is where you begin to apply some of the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy, if you're familiar with that, analyzing, comparing, contrasting, synthesizing, and or evaluating to the reading experience. And what is happening here is if you look at the second bullet here, the student is engaged in a dialogue with the text. They are wrestling with the text. They are struggling with the text, like the picture right here. They're fighting to understand. In other words, they already know how to read, and now they're reading to learn. And so some of the ways that we can pull students into the levels of critical literacy is through having discussions in the classroom and or including writing assignments. Now, commonly, and of course, we don't want to speak for the entire world in every single context, but generally, the ability to apply critical literacy skills and to reach this particular level of reading comprehension does not begin until high school at the earliest. Some people often never achieve this for whatever reasons. And again, if you look at the works of Piaget and mental development, you'll understand why on a deeper level. Now, the final level is what we call dynamic literacy, and this is where they're connecting the content to other content they've read or experienced. So, for example, students might read several different authors on one subject. So they might read about justice, and different authors share their perspectives and their views on justice. And the students compare and contrast and evaluate, and they connect. And they find out what this author says, how it's in common with that author, etc., etc. This is much deeper than just reading one book on justice and just trying to wrestle with what that one author said about the subject. Another way that you can encourage dynamic literacy is by focusing on one idea across several subjects. So, going back to justice, the ideal of justice. So, you can have justice in history, justice in sociology, justice in business. And again, you're taking the one ideal and you're seeing how it appears in these different disciplines. Again, this is a much higher level of comprehension and being able to maneuver text, not just one text, but several texts and books. Another example of this might be the traditional review of literature in a research paper. So again, you have one basic concept, whatever your problem is in the research, and you're trying to find out what other people have said, and you're trying to pull together what they have in common, pull how they're different, etc. That is dynamic literacy at its core. Unfortunately, it is very rare for the average person to ever achieve this. Perhaps the earliest is maybe grad school, but again, we don't want to make sweeping generalizations. The problem is that many people are satisfied with the first thing they find on Google, and that's the end of it. But dynamic literacy requires the exploration of not just the topic, but several other topics related to the topic. And so in your classroom, and I'm often, working with, university lecturers who come with the assumption that students can read dynamically. And what you have to often do is you have to try to show them how what you are teaching connects with the other classes that they take in their learning experience at the university level. That is one way to encourage dynamic literacy, to see the flow and the big picture of what is happening in their discipline at their major. So, in this particular video, we've taken a look at reading comprehension, which is obviously the ability to understand the text or the things that you are reading. And there are the three levels of that: decoding, sounding things out; critical literacy, kind of wrestling with the text, trying to understand the text; and dynamic literacy, going beyond the one text you're reading and pulling in and connecting with other texts and content that you've been exposed to. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and my name is Darren Thomas, and I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Take care.